Hello guys, welcome to another country's video. As you saw in the last video, Antarctica got discovered, but here we're not going to be focusing on the Antarctic theater. So yeah, you may be wondering what's going to happen here. So first things first, of the viruses. The virus will follow the immensely populated trade routes and will hitch a ride on Anyway, this virus will hitch a ride on these main trade routes, expanding quickly and affecting further parts of Finland. So yeah. Now, the virus will attack and siege down the city, as the Russians know very little about the Salmonella. But E. coli will mainly be contained in South America. However, the virus spreads even further among the natives. So the virus starts spreading among the natives, so it gets even worse than before. So, yeah. And then in the south, it spreads really rapidly across the natives because of the nice good old plains. So yeah. Eventually, after a while, the natives are tired of being reliant on the Argentinians for goods and supplies, and now this just lights a match in the people. After the Argentinians do not care very much about the well-being of the natives here, so they will form the country. I need a beige. Not beige. Is that too small? Yeah, it is. Dark beige. Sure. You know what? The darkest blue possible. Really nice dark blue. So anyway, because of this, the country of Uruguay is going to be formed with the natives around it. So don't mind me just drawing the borders real quick. This is the main way I draw all the borders. Just grab one pixel tool, draw a bunch of squiggly lines, and whoop, pow. Country successful. Now capital, of course, whoop, pow. The capital, of course, will be in the city of Montevideo. And so yeah. Now, African countries. The African countries will start to nationalize more, and will start discovering more technology, like better boats and better exploration technology, pushing quite far into the jungle, quite far into the Congolese jungle. However, a war will erupt in Africa. I forgot to mention I added disclaimers there to show all the political turmoil. The country or the countries in one sector, like in Wales over here, the reason why you see so many colors is because these are the countries claiming it. As you can see, there's Brittany, there's France, there's Doggerland, there's Germany, and there's Great Britain. So yeah, France also claims these are lands. So yeah, along with Spain. Yeah. As you can see, the purple team is taking a real big fat chunk of Southern Europe in the claims. So anyway, back to the war. A war erupts over this town because the people the people of this little settlement and want to split off from this nation and join this nation. However, this nation has been oppressing the city, so the nation that benefits the most of it declares war. So, I believe this is the Ivory Coast, and this is versus Togoland. So Ivory Coast versus Togoland, and Liberia will join in. But thankfully, for Ivory Coast luck, Nigeria joins in. But because of this, Gabon joins the war to try and take some of Nigeria's land. So this spirals out into a massive war. First couple of offensives are done by this little African nation, capturing and easily capturing the city. However, in the very snoot of this country, these guys are getting pushed back. So let me see if there's any podcasts in this. What is this called? Yeah, okay, it's fine. Anyway, they will push mainly into the snout, while the Nigerians will capture this very northern major city. So yeah, while also pushing into parts of Gabon. So yeah. While Liberia will start trying to release pressure on Togoland by successfully pushing into the Ivory Coast and capturing some of the Ivory Coast. Haha, I'm so funny. This is kind of ugly. Yeah, okay. So yeah, this is going to be the main borders as the Liberians will attempt to encircle this city with the garrisons. So yeah. Gabon now will finally make an offensive into the north, successfully capturing small little parts of the occupied territory, while also themselves pushing into Nigeria. So yeah. This is going to be the Japanese part. Now let's go back to Liberia and the small occupied territory. They'll grab some small little areas after it. It's really this that the African countries don't have any technological advantages. So the main powerhouses here are Nigeria with 5 little cities and the Congo with 5 little major cities. So yeah. Anyway, also Liberia was my favorite. So Liberia is a massive, unstoppable powerhouse. However, there is going to be some pushback from Ivory Coast. So yeah. However, there is a massive immediate response, immediately capturing this major city to widen up in front and encircling the divisions up here. So yeah, and basically destroying them all. While in the south, furthermore of the Ivory Coast the coast of the Ivory Coast is captured. So yeah, it isn't really going good for Ivory Coast, especially since one of the biggest powerhouses here are Liberia is just pushing quite far. However, good news from the East comes. Nigeria has completely hooked the Western Liberian army and is marching on the capital currently. So, yeah. Not very good for Liberia right now. Gabon is making some very small offensives. Gabon's making some really small offensives back into their territory. So yeah, while also further pushing into Nigeria territory, along with finally capturing this major city. So yeah. Now a surprise, a bigger surprise. Congo really wanting a more population and being the dominant major power in West Africa will invade the North Congo. So yeah, immediately the Congos collide in the very south, which ends up in a Congolese victory. How the South Congolese victory, or North Congo will make some very small offensives into the Congo. Yes, I'll rename this little Congo to Angola, and I'll name this Congo into just the Congo. Sorry, Angola is going to continue their invasion plan of Congo. So yeah, they'll continue pushing up through here, and they will kick out the invader over here. So yeah, after a long battle, the battle around the city is lost, along with the naval battles, as the Angola and Liberia and Nigeria are some of the only countries in West Africa with an actual navy. So yeah. After pushing relentlessly, the capital finally falls to Congolese forces. Not Congolese forces, I'm sorry, Angolese forces. So yeah, the complete capitulation of the Congo. So what's going to happen to them? Well, the peace deal is very detrimental. What's going to happen is complete annexation. So now, Angola is the powerhouse because they have 5 small cities and 1 big old major city. So this creates Angola as a major power, along with Angola pushing. This color kind of hurts my eyes. I'm gonna tone it down a little. Pop out. Yeah, that's so nice. Well, I need to clean up all of this old ice stain of color. There we go. So they will explore a bit of more. What about South Africa and Madagascar? So here's going to happen with South Africa. They'll continue discovering more land around. More land around South Africa. So yeah. Papa and Papa. This is going to be the main games. However, Madagascar and Tanzania are heightening tensions until these tensions eventually snap due to Tanzania claiming this land and this land. So, yeah. Malawi, he decides to, destroy the alliance with Tanzania and invade them, as Tanzania also has claimed the land. So yeah, I'm gonna claim this, and I guarantee on the towers like the Great African War or the African Anarchy, something like that. So yeah. First things first, Tanzania will see a ton of surprise offensives by Malawi because Who would have thought that the old ally of Malawi would have all of a sudden betrayed him? However, Madagascar is being, how to put this, utterly and brutally destroyed by Tanzania. Immediately seeing Madagascar get thrown back quite far as they have a very small military, and Tanzania has so many major cities while Madagascar has one. So Tanzania has the manpower advantage and the technology advantage because they have literal connections to Egypt, to all of the new world discoveries. Madagascar does not. So yeah, further pushes in the north are happening while Malawi will see a shocking naval invasion from Tanzania. Who could have expected this? Right over the north, basically cutting off a whole area of their army, causing Tanzania to be able to recapture this area. So yeah. And anyway, Tanzania will continue pushing down the coast with their marines, eventually capturing all of the north, causing this whole area to basically be encircled and cooked. So the whole Malawi army has been straight up cooked. So yeah. Anyway, further gains in Madagascar are being pushed until the capital falls and Madagascar capitulates, along with Malawi. Here's going to be the peace treaty. Okay guys, this is the peace treaty. Tanzania will mainly take all of this for puppeting Madagascar, and Malawi is just chilling there because Tanzania still believes that they and Malawi can normalize relationships after the whole catastrophe, and Malawi completely be beaten and losing one of their major cities. So Malawi still gains its independence. Not very fortunate for Madagascar. So yeah, back to the Great West African War. Now, even more encroachments are being seen on the Nigerian front, as the Nigerians are pushing quite far. They're pushing quite far, and then even worse, Liberia is started. But goodness for Liberia, and bad news for Ivory Coast. They get encircled, and the capital ends up being kind of encircled. So yeah, and they capitulate. Oh yeah. On a major city. Okay, boy. This is going to be the peace treaty of Ivory Coast. Now this is the peace treaty. So Liberia will mainly get this area, while Togoland will gain this area. So yeah. Now Liberia can now basically rival Angola. So yeah. Nigeria just needs to pull out a clutch, especially since they're basically fighting a 3v1 until the powerhouse of Angola joins the war. So because of this may become a quite fair war if Angola blitzes through Gabon, which with great effect, wrong selection. They will absolutely destroy the Gabonese defenses in the south, of completely overrunning two of the manpower farms and pushing straight up to the capital, almost like an eye, while Nigeria will finally push out these little pockets of Gabonese forces and will start pushing again into Gabon, pushing incredibly far through the north. So all that's left is a small force in Equatorial Guinea that's basically encircled. Eventually, whoop pow! They gone. They gone. They gone. So Angola and Nigeria occupied. Now it's two great powers versus one great power in a minor country that has just gained even more. So yeah. Yeah. Anyway, Liberia taking advantage of the fact that Nigeria has moved troops off. That's not really a good border. We'll start pushing. We'll push into this panhandle, and let me look for it. Why is this color God? Anyway, there we go. I found the color. They will start encroaching into Nigerian lands. So yeah. Anyway, what happens with Togoland? Well, bad news for them. How to put this? Some Nigerian-sponsored rebels in Ivory Coast will start revolting. So yeah. Now it's basically now or never to put down the revolters. These revolters also quickly spread into Liberia. So yeah. Now Liberia, realizing that their transportation methods of soldiers are in danger because they might get encircled, quickly orders all future armies coming over to Togoland to be halted and to focus on the threat. So yeah. Eventually they will successfully capture this major city and capture this one, while Togoland will end up taking this one. However, Togoland and Liberia are now paranoid. Once again, let me fix the old one. So yeah, they're now basically paranoid and they're worried about future attacks. Speaking of which, Nigeria will successfully make a mounted counteroffensive during the distraction, and they're able to push back at the Liberian forces. So yeah. Eventually, Liberia will fight the Nigerian Navy and get a clutch victory, as they'll fight with the Nigerian Navy like right over here, and they'll destroy most of it. So because of it, the small fishing boats allow Liberia to do a smaller naval invasion around the capital. The capital isn't supposed to be capital. Anyway, they will do a small naval invasion around the capital. So yeah, along with basically encircling the capital. So yeah, the surprise naval invasion. However, the administrators are able to flee, and after the loss of their capital to the Marines, they will formally claim this area as theirs, and because of it, they will actually move their capital to occupied territory. Shocking, right? So yeah. However, there was a lot of protests around. So yeah. Anyway, finally, Liberia will be able to push out the Nigerians from the north of their country after tons of years, big stuff like that. Anyway, further pushes into Nigeria are being pushed, and in the north, a little city is captured, and eventually Nigeria will surrender to the forces. But however, the Congo is there to back up Nigeria. They will completely annex all of Gabon. So yeah. So yeah. Now it's completely occupied. Now, further advances will continue. Further advances, however, the Gabonese are able to be pushed along with a very small bubble, taking a lot of steam in the very south of Gabon. So yeah. So a ton of pushes are being pushed into Gabon right now. And eventually, the Gabonese and the rebel groups will eventually surrender. Now it's now or never to Angola. They need to make a big gamble. They destroy all of Liberia's fleets, or completely overwhelming Liberia's forces by making a massive encirclement. So it's finally time for these guys to lock the TF in. Now, immediately, Angola will, right? The stool is on uneven territory, so I keep on wobbling and wiggling because I like to move around a ton. So, and because of this, my stool's wobbling and wiggling. So, yeah. Anyway, so a massive encirclement is made around the city, and Angola will destroy 5 divisions, basically 5,000 people, completely destroyed in an instant. And consider this, like Togoland and Liberia are very new nations, so they do not have a lot of population. So this is shocking beyond belief. However, they take advantage, and then they are able to cause little rebels in the Republic of Congo against Angola. So a massive mounted rebel group will start in the very north, supported by Liberia, and because of this, the whole encirclement idea just caused them to get encircled themselves. Oh my god. Anyway, Angola will continue being built in after that massive encirclement, because it put all the divisions right there and barely any divisions on Jersey. Now finally, they learn to declare martial law, but it's already too late. They're outside the capital, barreling down to the main major cities in North Angola. Now, it's not now or never, it's when or ever. So wait, deselect, and a whop, pow, victory, voya. So, yeah. Anyway, here's going to be the PC. In 3, 2, 1, whapa! So, because of this, Gabon will get this land, while but a puppet state is installed with Liberia, a Liberian leader. It's kind of like a Liberian colony almost across Gabon. However, through like better navies around the coast, eventually a small little navy gets blown via storm, and they find some islands. They hop around islands eating some coconuts, trying to put a raft, and eventually sail back and report to Liberia that, hey bud, there's some epic islands over here. So they send more sailors. They discover this island, discover this island, discover this island, and discover this island and this island. They have discovered the whole archipelago. Anyway, what's going to happen? Liberia annexes it all. However, they will give up some very small concessions to Gabon since they wanted some. Gabon will gain these two islands, and Liberia wanted a good naval base hub to eat coconuts. So they promised Gabon this island and this island as good naval bases to sail through. So yeah, this is going to be the discovery. Anyway, back to Europe. Back to you. Now, Carthage, after a while of infighting, finally decides to declare war on the Bamboo Alliance. And who's here to join it? It's none other than the Pentagon Alliance. So it becomes a three-way war between it's the Bamboo Alliance versus the Pentagon Alliance and Carthage. Carthage ain't no small little baby. Carthage is a very strong and beefy ally. So yeah, Carthage is like, how to put this, a really strong ally. But eventually they decided to leave the blue team. So yeah, now it's just 4 members. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention all the green little stuff. The green colors basically means it also has an equalize. It's an equalize, a defensive attack. Okay, and if it's specifically 3D, like this pyramid, that means that it's like a universal alliance. So yeah. Anyway, Carthage will immediately jump scare Morocco by it needs to be incredibly white, so by going blue and then pushing quite far into core Moroccan territory, along with even scarier, the Carthaginian lands on the Balearic Islands and captures Valencia, while on the other side, the ferocious is a mighty people, the Danubian Reclamation Army, will immediately start pushing in southern Italy. Going incredibly far as to capture Rome. However, good news for the Bamboo Alliance. The Croatia will lock in and start pushing quite far into the Danubian Federation. So yeah, they will successfully capture these cities, and even better, France declares war on Normandy. How is this good? It's because Normandy is core French territory, and Normandy has a very small navy. So they're basic army, and they're dependent on Germany. So after France cut them off, Normandy basically got screwed and got completely captured. So Normandy is finally down. So yeah, now France is finally united, but there's still core territories all the way in Germany. So yeah. Anyway, Carthage will face some troubles though. Corsica will straight up be captured. From Carthage. So yeah. So yeah. Anyway. So yeah. Anyway, after a while of debating, the Danubian Confederation Parliament agrees to finally declare war on Carthage. Why? You may ask. It's because they have claimed Sicily. So, wait, let me check. Did they actually claim Sicily? No. Anyway, Egypt will also join the war, as Egypt has massive, and I mean massive, claim on all of Carthage, like right, all of Libya, all of Carthaginian Libya. And even better, Egypt agrees to join the Pentagon Alliance. So yeah, Egypt's still in its own alliance with the Squares, but it's also a part of the Pentagon Alliance. So, because of this, Ethiopia and Tanzania are now at war with Carthage. Egypt will immediately start taking advantage of this, as their goal is straight up just do blitzkrieg. So yeah, immediate massive pushes on the front due to blitzkrieg, and eventually they end up getting stopped at the desert. However, this is massive gains. Anyway, this little guy finally eventually gets to unite their archipelago, and even better, the little guy finally gets Crete. So because of this they decide to name themselves Mediterranean. Now they have some claims. They claim Cyprus. They claim Sicily. So yeah. Anyway, Sicily is being quite lately how to put this, utterly and completely being defeated. The last spot that's safe is Palermo, but it's not really safe. Not to mention Sardinia ends up falling. So yeah. Now the Bamboo Alliance, worrying about Danubia, tries to desperately sue for peace, and Danubia is like, okay, as long as you promise us that you, in the future, will not declare war ever again. So, what's going to happen? The main targeted force is the country of Zagreb. So what are they going to be forced to hand over? all of the Italian nation. All of the Italian nation. All of the Italian nation, yeah. And then they have to pull out from over here, and then they get completely mutilated as they lose a ton of this land, this little land. Now this is a century of humiliation for the Bamboo Alliance. Type in the comments down below who you think in the next war will win. Will the Bamboo Alliance eventually team up against the Pentagon Alliance, and along with the Temple Thrall, along with Germany, and beat them? Or do you think Danubia will eventually declare war on the Bamboo Alliance and beat them? Comment down below. So, yeah. With Carthage, it's not really going too well because these guys and these guys and these guys just shoot quickness. So, yeah. Anyway, Zagreb will start going through economic stagnation as eventually, due to pressure from almost all angles, the complete civil war of Zagreb will start. Complete civil war. Pow. One country. And then there's going to be 3 main players in the civil war. So there's going to be the Hungary. Sorry. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to do this, and this, and this. So here's going to be the main players. And I'll add one more kind. So, oh, this color sucks. Anyway. This is the Zagrebian Civil War. And you know what? I will swap colors with no, this one. So yeah, the orange country right here is supported by Hungary. This little country over here is supported by Danubia. And this country is fighting for Zagrebian great reconquest against Hungary and Danubia, like that, to finally bring them back to the kings of the Adriatic. So yeah. So first couple of things, Zagreb's nation will not be facing so good because the pro-Danubian guys have all the riches in the south. So because of this, Danubia's puppets will push very efficiently and quite far and eventually capture this major city. However, good news from the north comes. This nation up here, the Zagrebian Liberation Army, will be pushing incredibly hard as those people have lots of motivation, while Danubia's people is backed up by Danubia, and they're not supported by it. So yeah, the key is kind of the people. So they did not realize that. Anyway, the Hungarian occupation will quickly fall due to Zagreb forces marching in and quickly up and eventually pushing them out. So yeah, and after this, a massive Zagrebian rebellion occurs in Hungary. across the many little Zagrebian territories, mainly fighting to join Zagreb. So yeah, this one right over here will get limited support from Zagreb, but they will get the most and will start pushing into Hungary. So yeah, and eventually these guys will connect up. So yeah, creating a massive anti-Hungarian area, along with uh, the Zagrebian army, also sending little liberation guys up in the north and beating the Zagrebian army, supporting these guys, along with stating their own rebellion in the north that's pro Zagrebian liberation. So yeah. Anyway, these guys eventually pushed Zagreb out of Istria after the massive liberal reforms seemed more attractive to the people than just normal stuff. So yeah. Think of this as like the Great Renaissance, and eventually the handling gets so bad because Germany cannot send really any aid to Hungary as they are trying to rebuild and try and deal with and garrison all those angry Frenchmen and all those Italian men and all those Polish men, along with attempting to appease Russia, as Russia really wants all of Germany's Polish lands. So yeah, eventually Hungary completely collapses. And one little nation will pop up right over here. Romanian nation will quickly pop up, but they are forward. But however, Hungarian is able to put down this revolt. And eventually, after years of fighting and the French eventually stalemating, a peace deal is brokered by Germany in Czechia. So the peace deal goes something like this. So yeah. Anyway, because of this, eventually the Zagrebian army becomes less popular, and the Danubia eventually falls. The Danubian army eventually falters as a massive counteroffensive, aimed at Sicily will succeed greatly and capture most of the island. This much, yeah. We capture this much. Now the war is slowly becoming a deadlock, as Carthage however, the war on the Western Front will start pushing, and eventually Casablanca will be encircled before becoming captured. So yeah. And eventually almost everything falls. However, a Moroccan resistance group will keep up in the mines as a massive miners group will hold the resistance here, along with the Moroccan Navy, and Morocco will have a ton of ground troops located in Gibraltar. But if Gibraltar is lost, Spain is next. Spain is however able to capture the Balearic Islands back. Eventually, a brokered peace deal ends up having to be forced. as the eastern front is deadlocked, the central front is deadlocked, and the western front is deadlocked. So yeah, tons of land exchange, and the peace deal will be showed in 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay, there you go. This is the peace treaty. Carthage gets all of Morocco, almost all of Morocco, as Morocco still stays as a very small rump state over here in the island, while Iberia will occupy all of Gibraltar for Morocco. So yeah. This is going to be the peace treaty, and this is going to be the end of the episode. Peace out, goodbye, and yeah, bye bye.